Even though Bitcoin has shattered its previous record high, please do not buy it. Not if you want to maximize your wealth. Instead, there's a completely different cryptocurrency that I predict will increase 8,788% in the next 5 years. Do you know what it is? I'll give you a hint. It's easy to buy, it's on all the major exchanges, it's far cheaper than Bitcoin, and it's just sitting right out there in the open, yet very few people see the opportunity that's available. My name is James Altucher. I'm a Wall Street Journal best-selling author who has written over 20 books. My articles have also been published by the Financial Times, the New York Observer, the Wall Street Journal. During my career, I've made valuable connections with everyone from billionaire Mark Cuban to Peter Thiel, who was the billionaire founder of PayPal, an early investor in Facebook. I founded and ran my own $55.6 million hedge fund and a $200 million venture capital firm. I've also been praising Bitcoin since it was trading for $113. Around the time it hit $19,000, I began urging as many people as I could to get involved in cryptocurrencies. The internet thought I was crazy, but history proved I was right. Now I'm making another call that sounds crazy. I predict that a common cryptocurrency, one that you might have heard of, is going to shoot up 8,788%. And I'm going to do something even crazier. I'm going to flat out give you the name of this cryptocurrency. Yes, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and I'm going to explain why it will go up so much. Chances are you missed out on Bitcoin's amazing winning streak, which has turned many investors into millionaires, but this time can be different. You have a chance to get in on this opportunity at the perfect time. 5 years from now, you could look back on today as when you decided to take a small chance and your life completely changed. Or you could look back on today as yet another missed chance. I know that many of you are probably watching this massive new bull market in Bitcoin, and you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, have I missed out? Maybe you're worried about this. Maybe you stay up at night thinking about it. But I really need you to pay attention. The real bull market is only just about to get started, and it's all thanks to an unusual wealth pattern that has triggered every major millionaire making breakout to date. It's a pattern that occurs every 4 years like clockwork, and each time it has sent Bitcoin to phenomenal new highs, from $1,000 in 2013 to $20,000 in 2017 to $69,000 in 2021. And by the end of the next year, I predict Bitcoin will hit a new all-time high of $150,000 per coin. And it's all thanks to this recurring wealth pattern that has triggered every millionaire making breakout so far. But listen, please understand, when I say Bitcoin can go as high as $150,000, there's a good chance that I'm being really conservative. I was one of the first people to recommend Bitcoin all the way back in 2013 when it was trading for around $100 per coin. I went on CNBC to talk about it. Within months, it hit a high of $1,000, which is 1,000% gain. In 2017, I told people to buy it again. And within 4 years, we saw gains of over 500%. And it's all because this unusual wealth pattern that plays out every 4 years like clockwork. And so far, it's been 100% accurate. And with a new bull market already starting, it is set to play out again. So this is what I want you to do. Mark this date on your calendar, April 22nd. That's when this wealth pattern is set to repeat. And that's when I predict the real bull market will start, sending Bitcoin to $150,000, $200,000, maybe even $250,000 or more. But before you go out and buy Bitcoin, this is really important to know. If you want a shot at the best gains during this new Bitcoin bull market, Bitcoin is probably the last thing you should buy. It's why I personally do not own any Bitcoin today. Today there are thousands, literally thousands of different cryptocurrencies that you can choose from. And when Bitcoin is going higher, that's where you can find the best gains. For instance, on just one of these smaller cryptos, I made a 7,000% return on my money in less than 2 years. I invested $25,000 and cashed out with $1.75 million. On another investment, I got in early at just 52 cents per coin, and within 4 years, they were worth $237 a piece. That's over 45,000%. I've made so much money in crypto, I did something I promised I'd never do. I never wanted to do this, but I bought a multi-million-dollar house with my gains, My friends embarrassingly call it the house that crypto built, and you can see it right here. Please understand, I do not share this to brag. I am more embarrassed than anything. I say it though to illustrate the incredible, awesome wealth building power of this new technology called crypto, and to warn you that if you want a chance at this sort of success for yourself, you are about to run out of time. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you about my top 10 favorite cryptocurrencies that you should buy today. I believe these are your best shots at those rare 1,000% plus gains over the next 2 years. I mean, just take a look at the top 10 returns during the 2016 and 2017 bull market. Some of these names, I'm sure you recognize them. Ethereum, the number 2 crypto in the world, it was a tiny player then, and it rose 87,673% in that bull market. That's enough to turn $1,000 into $870,000. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine turning $1,000 into almost $1,000,000? Well, some investors did it, and it's worth even more today. XRP is another one of the largest cryptocurrencies in the world right now. In that bull market, it soared 44,832%, enough to turn $1,000 into roughly $450,000. And then you had crazy outliers like NEM up almost 600,000%, or Verge up 3 million%, and Einsteinium up a ridiculous 5.1 million%. That is ridiculous. Enough to turn, yes, $1,000 into $5.1 million. Could you imagine if you put $1,000 in that and then you just like forgot about it, or you assumed it went to zero, and like 4 years later you like look at that account and you thought you just had like 1,000 or maybe zero in it by then, and you had 5.1 million? That is life changing. That's what we're talking about here, is changing your life, securing that freedom, that generation wealth that you've sought for so long. In the last bull market, the gains on the top 10 cryptos were just as extreme. From 2020 to 2021, Polygon shot up over 35,000%. Solana soared 50,300%. And the top crypto of that period, Shiba Inu, turned $1,000 into 76 million. This actually happened. And yes, of course, these gains are rare and hard to perfectly time. But here's the thing. The event that triggered those last 2 bull markets is set to repeat on April 22nd. If this pattern plays out just like before, starting then, a massive new bull market will start. The same event that triggered those last 2 bull markets just happened again. If this pattern plays out just like before, then several smaller alternative cryptos are about to soar astronomically higher. That's why, in a moment, I'm going to tell you how to access my list of the top 10 cryptos to own over the next 2 years. These are, in my view, your best shots of targeting those rare, extremely rare 1,000%, 5,000%, even 10,000% gains in the next 2 years. But that's not all. I'm also going to reveal how this wealth pattern has predicted every major bull market in crypto, and why 2024 is shaping up to be Bitcoin's biggest year yet. Look, for those who don't know me, again, my name is James Altucher. I've run a $50 million hedge fund, a $100 million venture capital fund. I've personally written over 20 books, including 2 Wall Street Journal bestsellers, and I've started more than 20 companies, including 2 that I sold for 8-figure exits. If you recognize me, it's because I've been appearing on networks like CNBC for almost 20 years now. My work has been read by more than 20 million people worldwide. And my podcast, The James Altucher Show, has over 40 million downloads, where I've interviewed some of the world's top business gurus like Ray Dalio, Peter Thiel, Mark Cuban, Tony Robbins. I've been writing about Bitcoin since 2013. That year, I set up my own e-commerce website to sell one of my books, Choose Yourself, exclusively with Bitcoin. That store that I created only accepted Bitcoin, and I had one product in it, my book, Choose Yourself. I went on CNBC to talk about that. Business Insider even ran an article about it. Again, Bitcoin was trading around $100 then. Those Bitcoins are worth hundreds of times more than I originally got them for. But the reason why I don't own any today, I don't own any Bitcoin, is very simple. It all comes back to this wealth pattern set to appear on April 22nd. Whenever this wealth pattern appears, it causes Bitcoin to skyrocket. And that forces lots of other smaller cryptocurrencies to go even higher. rising 5x, 10x, even 100x higher than Bitcoin or more. That's how I was able to make a 7,000% return during the last 4-year cycle, turning a small $25,000 investment into $1.75 million. Listen, it all comes back to this pattern. And again, it happens every 4 years like clockwork. In the last bull market, each of the top 10 cryptos went up 10 times higher than Bitcoin. And in the bull market before that, all but one of them went up 10 times higher than Bitcoin. It doesn't mean you could go out and buy any cryptocurrency that you want. Fact is, 95% of the cryptos out there are probably going to end up totally worthless. To find the right ones to buy, you need an expert, someone with a proven track record. And that's where I come in. My company publishes the work of some of the best stock experts in the world, and my crypto recommendations beat all of them. In the last 2 years, my top recommendations have gone as high as 2,612%, 1,242%, 715%. That's just in the past 2 years. Plenty have more than doubled, tripled, and quadrupled in price. And I think we still have a lot higher to go. That's why it was so important for me to get this video out to you. And that's why I want to send you a list of my top 10 cryptos today. I believe they stand to become some of the biggest winners in this bull market. But if you missed the last 2 bull markets, it's okay. It's okay. Don't have fear of missing out. Don't be stressed over it. But please understand, this is your last chance. When this wealth pattern repeats on April 22nd, I do believe that's it. If you're not in by then, it's too late. And I'm going to tell you exactly what this wealth pattern is in just a moment. But first, you need to understand why this bull market, the one we're in right now, is the biggest one yet. You see, Bitcoin has been around for 15 years, but only recently did the world's biggest investor start piling in. In a few weeks, this investor has already bought almost 200,000 Bitcoin and continues to invest hundreds of millions each day. That's why Bitcoin has already hit a new all-time high. And as this demand continues, it will send other smaller cryptos into the stratosphere. The smaller guys always follow the big guy, but much, much further. I'm talking about, and the investor I'm talking about is BlackRock. BlackRock is the largest money manager in the world, largest money manager in history. It has over $10 trillion in assets under management. And on January 11, 2024, BlackRock made history by launching the world's first Bitcoin ETF. And it's already the fastest growing ETF in history, with hundreds of millions of dollars continuing to flow in by the day. This is insanely bullish for crypto. Until a few weeks ago, the big money couldn't buy Bitcoin at all. That's because institutional investors, they all have certain regulations in place telling them what they can and can't buy. That means up until just a few weeks ago, the big money, they were still on the sidelines. But when the SEC approved their new Bitcoin ETF, it opened up the floodgates. This is a tidal wave of cash unlike anything I've ever seen. It's historical. This is so much bigger than the last 2 bull markets. Prior to 2016, most investors didn't even have any idea what a Bitcoin was. And that's because before that year, it was very difficult to buy. That is until cryptocurrency exchanges like Coinbase arrived on the scene. For the first time ever, Coinbase made it very easy to buy Bitcoin. All you had to do was download the app, connect it to your bank, and buy it. It's as easy to use as any online broker that lets you buy or sell stocks. That's why when the wealth pattern appeared in 2016, Bitcoin went from $1,000 to $20,000 just 18 months later. And after that dramatic run up, larger investors started to move in. MicroStrategy, a data company, bought $3.6 billion worth of Bitcoin between 2020 and 2021. By the way, they've been buying more recently. From low to high, the stock shot up 10 times in price in a year. Square, the mobile payment company that runs Cash App, bought over $200 million worth in the second half of 2020, leading the stock to a new all-time high. And even Tesla jumped in, the car company, buying $1.4 billion worth of Bitcoin. So one of the biggest investors, of course, was Cathie Wood. She runs ARK Invest, an investment management company that manages several exchange-traded funds. Its flagship fund, the ARK Innovation ETF, bought almost 5 million shares of Coinbase, was heavily invested in several of the stocks mentioned before, and even bought several million shares of Bitcoin through a Bitcoin trust. This time, when the wealth pattern appeared, Bitcoin shot up another 1,000% within 18 months. But look, to put this in perspective, Cathie Wood's entire portfolio is about $10 billion. That's great. That's all the money she has under management. But BlackRock has over $10 trillion worth. And they're not alone. The SEC recently approved 10 other money managers, including Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Van Eck Asset Management, to launch their own Bitcoin ETFs as well. So with so many big asset managers moving in, the sky is truly the limit. It's all this trillions of dollars that were on the sidelines that now, for the first time ever, could buy Bitcoin because it's so easy. Now you could just buy it like any other stock. So a Bitcoin ETF means that for the first time, ordinary Americans can get access to Bitcoin's enormous price increases right in their IRA, 401k, and retirement accounts. Mutual funds will be able to buy. Pension funds will be able to buy. Every big investor in the world will finally be able to buy Bitcoin. That just happened a few weeks ago. So think back to gold's huge bull run in the 2000s. Prior to that, the yellow metal was worth a couple $100 an ounce. Okay. But once the first gold ETF arrived on the scene in 2004, the price skyrocketed. Suddenly, people could easily get access to gold inside their brokerage account or 401k. By 2011, and by the way, gold went up every single year after that. No matter what the market did, gold went up every year from 2004 to 2011 because now they had this ETF that made it easy for everyone to buy. By 2011, gold was up nearly 350% after the ETF's approval. Today, the same thing is happening with so-called digital gold, with Bitcoin. In fact, and Bitcoin is much newer, of course, than gold. Gold's been around thousands of years, so it was already a mature, asset class. Bitcoin, totally new. Most people are not invested in Bitcoin, but only now they have the capabilities to do so. In fact, one estimate suggests that if money managers in the US put just 1% of their assets under management inside BlackRock's new Bitcoin ETF, and that would be a mere $14.4 billion, Bitcoin will surge to $144,000 by the end of 2025. By that same math, a 2% allocation would equal a price of over $250,000, and a 5% allocation would equal $572,000 per Bitcoin. With this wealth pattern set to repeat just as BlackRock has launched its new ETF, the sky is truly the limit. That's why I'm very confident Bitcoin will hit $150,000 over the next year at least, causing other smaller cryptos to skyrocket. And I know it sounds crazy to think that Bitcoin could still go this high. In the last decade, it beat the next greatest investment by more than tenfold, rising 18,912%. But don't get me wrong, it can still go a lot higher, and let me show you why. This is a chart of the U.S. money supply. Since the U.S. financial crisis in 2008, the U.S. government has been on an endless spending spree, printing more and more dollars in order to squeak by. And then guess what? COVID hit, everything broke. The government was forced to print like never before. More than 40% of all the dollars printed in the history of the world has been printed in the last 4 years alone. And since the financial crisis, the number of dollars that are circulating around has tripled. That's why your dollar does not buy you anywhere near as much as it used to. This money is completely made up. It's fictional. It's not backed by anything. And that's why more and more people are turning to Bitcoin as the ultimate dollar hedge. They call Bitcoin digital gold because there's a finite amount. We can't print any more of it. And once the supply runs out, that is it. That's why Bitcoin keeps going higher and higher and higher. The government wants you to think inflation is under control. But believe me, it's not. Inflation is higher than ever before. This is the government's own statistics. When you factor in the cost of food and energy, it's even worse. I mean, how could they tell you inflation numbers, but without the food prices? Everyone buys food and energy every day. I mean, the European Central Bank ran a study on over 200 countries and discovered that the energy sub-index saw the highest average rate of inflation, followed by food. And yet the government doesn't include this in their inflation stats. Are you kidding me? The government's just lying to you. The dollar is not sound. Even at 3% inflation, your dollars are losing 3% of their value each year. But over the last 10 years, guess what? Bitcoin has gone up an average of 64% per year. Last year, it jumped 159%. That means Bitcoin is growing 20 times faster than the US dollar is losing value. This is why BlackRock ETF is growing faster than any wealth fund in history. You simply can't afford not to have some exposure to this. At this rate, it's possible we could see Bitcoin hit $1 million easily by the end of the decade. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Crypto billionaire Arthur Hayes predicts Bitcoin could soar as high as $1 million by 2026. Bobby Lee, founder of the world's longest running crypto exchange, thinks it'll happen within 5 to 10 years. And Kathy Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, predicts Bitcoin will be well above $1 million by 2030. But remember, every time this wealth pattern appears and Bitcoin goes up 1,000%, smaller alternative cryptocurrencies can go up 5,000%, 10,000%, or more. In the last bull market, at least 10 different cryptos did 10 times better than Bitcoin, which is why it is imperative I get you a list of my top 10 cryptos immediately. At the bare minimum, I expect every single one of these cryptos will at least double Bitcoin's price gains over the next year. Some could be 5 times faster, even 10 times faster or more. And now that you understand what's at stake, let me quickly explain why 2024 will be so big. It all comes back to this unusual pattern that occurs every 4 years, and each time it's led to a massive run-up in Bitcoin. I'll give you an example. When this pattern appeared on November 28th, 2012, Bitcoin went from $13, yes, it was $13 in 2012, to over $1,000 by next December. It went up 8,400% that year. For the next 3 years, it didn't make any new ground. By January 2016, Bitcoin was trading for less than $500. But then something happened. The pattern repeated on July 9th, 2016, and that's when the real party started. Bitcoin quickly reclaimed its all-time high of 1,000, and in 2017, it went absolutely berserk, soaring to one new all-time high after the next, $5,000, then $10,000, then an amazing $20,000, soaring another 2,000%. Probably remember what happened next. In 2018, Bitcoin crashed 85%. That year, 93 different newspapers declared it was dead. The UK Daily Express said it was worthless and would have zero value by 2019. MarketWatch published the opinion of some teenage crypto phenom saying Bitcoin is pretty much dead. And Bloomberg wrote that JP Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway's Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett have the last laugh on Bitcoin. Well, look, those are all smart guys, but of course, we know what happened next. Bitcoin quickly recovered, soaring past the $10,000 mark. And then on May 11th, 2020, it happened again. The pattern reappeared. And by the end of the year, Bitcoin was trading over $20,000 again. Then in 2021, guess what? Hit $30,000, then $40,000, then $50,000. And by November 2021, it hit an all-time high of $69,000. So this is the pattern I want to talk about, and I hope you're starting to see what happens when this pattern occurs. So every time this pattern appears, Bitcoin returns to its all-time highs by the end of the year. Then the next year, it soars higher and higher and higher. And now it's about to happen again. It is set to repeat on April 22nd at 9 o'clock in the morning. Take a look at this chart. Every time this happens, Bitcoin goes up 1,000% or more over the next 12 to 18 months. It's a reliable wealth pattern. To date, Bitcoin has minted at least 100,000 new millionaires because of this pattern. And now that it's back, I predict Bitcoin is about to go higher than even before. By next year, I have a minimum price target of $150,000. And frankly, I kind of think that's conservative. $250,000 or higher is still on the table. It's just basic mathematics, which is all Bitcoin is based on. You see, unlike a publicly traded company, Bitcoin doesn't have a board of directors. It doesn't have market makers manipulating the price. It moves solely based on supply and demand. And that's exactly what causes this wealth pattern to repeat every 4 years. This wealth pattern goes by another name. It's called the halving. You might have heard of it. You see, this is the thing. Bitcoin exists on a digital ledger known as blockchain. It's a network of thousands of different computers that work together to mine Bitcoin on individual blocks. These miners, they validate every single Bitcoin transaction, and they get rewarded buy new Bitcoin. So each block contains a certain number of Bitcoin, but every 4 years, the number of Bitcoin that is rewarded to the miners gets cut in half. This is a big deal. This creates a recurring wealth pattern that causes Bitcoin to skyrocket. And it is simply supply and demand. When there's less new supply getting made every day and the demand goes up, the price goes exponentially higher. Again, this plays out every 4 years like clockwork. That's why I say this halving event creates a recurring and reliable wealth pattern that regular investors can take advantage of. Every time this happens, Bitcoin soars from $1,000 in 2013 to $20,000 4 years later, then $69,000. And next year, I predict it will hit at least $150,000. And again, I'm being conservative. That's because there are two other massive developments set to make this the biggest crypto bull market we've seen yet. And again, I want to say, I don't think this one will have a pullback. So just think about what we saw during the last two cycles before big players like BlackRock started piling in. During the last 2-year cycle, we saw tiny investments go up, and I mentioned them earlier, 15,000%, 50,000%, 100,000%, and some ridiculous ones that went even higher. And before that, the gains on the top 10 cryptos were just as big, 20,000%, 50,000%, even 5 million%. But this time is different. This time is bigger because now the demand for Bitcoin is greater than ever. And with a new halving event set to appear on April 22nd, it's going to go to $150,000 at least. We have never seen a halving event with this much demand for Bitcoin. Never. That's why I am certain Bitcoin is going to $150,000. This will be a massive breakthrough for the top 10 cryptos that I want to send you. I believe creating a small portfolio of these 10 cryptos can make the next 2 years the most exciting money-making journey of your life. However, if you want your chance at those rare 1,000% gains over the next 2 years, I do think that this is going to be your last chance. The big money, they've already been waiting for years for this moment. Due to the sheer demand that BlackRock will have for its ETF, they'll have to buy a ton of Bitcoin, enough to carry it to $144,000 at least. I believe this is quite possibly your last chance to make truly life-changing gains in this space. But if you want a shot at the best returns, again, Bitcoin is probably the last cryptocurrency you should buy. In fact, the only thing I can confidently guarantee is that Bitcoin won't get you the best gains in this next bull market. That's why I personally don't own any Bitcoin today. Instead, my crypto money is spread across an array of alternative digital currencies, including one coin that I personally have over $100,000 invested in that I call the number one coin of the decade. One day soon, it could even surpass Bitcoin in value. And it's just one of the 10 coins that I want to send you. Altcoins like these have surpassed Bitcoin's returns in the last few bull markets by many, many orders of magnitude. While Bitcoin went up 1,000% during the last 2-year bull market, coins like Flux at its peak went up 14,900%. That's 15 times better than Bitcoin. The Sandbox soared 24,300%. That's almost 25 times better than Bitcoin. And Solana, one of my favorites, soared 50,305%. That's 50 times better than Bitcoin. So I want to share my top 10 cryptos with you today. These aren't like no-name BS projects. Again, of the thousands, literally thousands of cryptos in existence, most of them are total trash. And I'll be the first to admit it. But these top 10 are not. In fact, they're all within the top 100 cryptocurrencies by market cap. Each one is worth $1 billion or more. There is very, very big and very serious money going into crypto right now. And these currencies are at the front of that charge. Are they still speculative? Sure. That's the nature of a new, still maturing, but volatile market like crypto. It's why you need to remember that, of course, no investment is guaranteed. There's always risk involved. You should never invest more than you can afford to lose. However, I am confident that on a percentage basis, each one is going to outperform Bitcoin over the next 2 years by twofold, fivefold, maybe even tenfold or more. Again, outperforming Bitcoin. I'm talking about a chance at targeting those rare gains of 1,000% or more. So you're probably wondering, what is the point of all these other cryptocurrencies? You see, Bitcoin itself is not actually a very good currency. It could only process about 3 to 6 transactions per second. That's not a lot. Compare that to Visa, which can process something like 65,000 different transactions per second. That might sound fast, but other cryptocurrencies are even much, much faster than that. They also have better security and lower fees. For example, one of the cryptos in my top 10 list has already proven it can match Visa speed with about 65,000 transactions per second. However, theoretically, it is capable of handling transactions up to 700,000 per second. That's 10 times better than Visa. So while Bitcoin was the first crypto and will likely always remain the number one store of value, meaning that's the crypto people will want to save their money in, the growth potential for other cryptocurrencies is way higher. There are 9 other cryptocurrencies that I want to tell you about in my top 10 list, including what's becoming known as the Google of blockchain. Here you'll find all public data for every blockchain in the world. It's basically a one-stop info hub for any blockchain developer who wants to design a new app. One of its backers is Coinbase Ventures, the venture capital wing of Coinbase, which I already told you is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the US. Another coin, the middleman slayer. This next crypto runs on the Ethereum blockchain, and in my opinion, it's on track to become the number one borrowing and lending platform in decentralized finance. And I'm not alone in this belief. Mark Cuban, of all people, by the way, Mark's been a guest on my podcast several times. Mark Cuban thinks it could one day be bigger than JP Morgan, which currently has a market cap of $450 billion. This crypto's market cap is about $1.5 billion. So if Mark Cuban is right, we'll one day see gains of 30,000%. Another coin, which I'm calling the Windows of Web3. So Web3 is a vision for a new generation of the World Wide Web that will be built on secure blockchain technology that is immune to hackers, scammers, thieves, and so on. This crypto project is on the front line of this movement, allowing for seamless and secure transfer of data through multiple blockchains. Its CEO is the chair of the UK Blockchain Committee, the EU's Blockchain Observatory, and also a member of the US Federal Reserve. So in a word, he's legit and has got a lot of influence on how governments are going to use crypto in the future. So these are just a few of the opportunities you'll discover in my top 10 report. You'll also discover a newer project founded by one of Ethereum's co-founders, the number one link between blockchains and off-chain technology, the largest decentralized cryptocurrency exchange, and one of Coinbase's only true remaining competitors, and more. It's all inside my special report, Better Than Bitcoin, the top 10 cryptos to buy for explosive gains. I really want to get a copy of this report into your hands immediately. It's why I'm so glad that my team and I were able to put this video together, and I urgently wanted to send this out to you. Because imagine if you had gotten in on this market in 2016, before Bitcoin soared to $20,000 and smaller cryptos like Ethereum jumped 87,000%. Even if you missed out then, you could have gotten into this market again in 2020 before Solana jumped 50,000%. My point is, if you think you missed out, you haven't. I don't want you to have FOMO, fear of missing out. You do have another chance. But if you miss out this time, I think that's it. The last 2 times, Bitcoin dropped 70%, even 80%, and gave investors another chance to buy in for cheap. However, now that the big money is finally moving in, there's a chance we may never see this opportunity again. Bitcoin already is back to new all-time highs. But most of these altcoins, though, are still cheap. One of them is emerging as the number one AI coin and has recently traded for as little as 50 cents. This is a tiny crypto that is using artificial intelligence to do what Google did for the internet, for the entire cryptocurrency universe. Some of these other projects are developing a whole new generation of internet technology that will make the internet more secure, more powerful, and faster than ever. And others are taking on the most important challenge of all, I think, which is revolutionizing the entire global financial landscape. The whole financial ecosystem in the world is getting upgraded right now as we speak. And some of these cryptocurrencies are very well involved in it. It's been estimated that providing banking services to the world's poor could unleash $100 trillion in wealth over the next decade. If this sounds like a digital revolution in the making, that's because it is. And this is the biggest moment we've seen yet. Now that the world's governments, large corporations, and the biggest money managers of all have finally made Bitcoin official, it's going to make this year crypto's biggest year yet. And if you missed out before, this is your final chance. We will not see a moment like this again. That's why I want to get you a copy of Better Than Bitcoin right now so you can get a hold of my top 10 picks right away. But look, that's not all. If you've never invested money like this before, then I want to give you unprecedented access to me and all of my ideas through my personal research advisory, Altucher's Investment Network. It's where I share my best investing ideas every month. We do this for people like you who want access to high caliber, institutional level research, but without the Wall Street level fees. So it all started in, again, I've been professionally investing since 2001. But in 2002, I also started professionally writing about investing. So it started when I pitched Jim Cramer 10 ideas he should write for TheStreet.com. But he liked them so much, he wrote me right back and he told me I should write them instead. So I did. And then I got invited to write for prestigious publications like the Financial Times. I had a column with the Wall Street Journal. I wrote several books on investing, including Trade Like a Hedge Fund, Trade Like Warren Buffett, and the Choose Yourself Guide to Wealth. The more I wrote, the more I learned. And the more I learned, the more I realized that when it comes to finance and investing, most of the so-called experts out there have no idea what they're talking about. You see, unlike most of the pros out there, I've made serious money. I've also lost serious money and made it all back. I've done that a couple of times. You learn through your own experiences. I was managing my money as well as professionally managing money, and I really learned. I spent thousands of hours learning every investment strategy out there, programming up in software many of these strategies, reading every book out there, interviewing, dozens of financial experts and investors. And then of course, learning by doing and learning by writing all of these books about investing and articles about investing. I've been in the trenches of the investing world. And so many of these guys, these talking heads that I either write stuff or I see on TV or whatever, they've never managed serious money. They never ran a business. They certainly never sold a business for $10 million like I have. But me, I've actually run a $50 million hedge fund. And I've personally sold 2 businesses that I created for 8-figure exits. And I've made millions of dollars in crypto. Every investment strategy I ever recommend is something that I've done professionally. So that's why I decided to create Altucher's Investment Network to give people like you, people like just everyday people who want investment ideas with huge upside from people who actually know what they're talking about. Besides me, my team consists of guys who have traded billions of dollars in capital and consulted for top agencies like Deloitte and PwC, and we're all united under a single goal: to provide quality ideas and research at a price anyone can afford. If I could charge nothing, I would. We don't make any profit on Altucher's Investment Network, and we do that by choice. One of the principles that I've learned in life is that if you want something, you have to be willing to give something away for free. That's why I'm going to tell you how to join risk-free in just a moment. But when you do, you'll get a copy of my new Better Than Bitcoin report sent to your email. Just download a Coinbase account, get my report, and if you want, you could be in these investments, the top 10 crypto, within the next 5 to 10 minutes. It is so easy. If you've ever bought a stock through an online brokerage account, it's just as easy as that. However, your experience with Altucher's Investment Network is going to be so much bigger than this one single report. Again, I love doing this. I've been doing this over 20 years, and I love building a community of like-minded people who really want freedom and security and, yes, wealth in their lives. So my team and I, we cover a range of topics each month, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence to powerful, little-known income-generating investments, even business strategies you can use outside of the stock market. You'll also get access to my model portfolio of both stock and crypto recommendations. These are the same investments that I would be buying if I was still running a hedge fund. A life, believe me, I happily gave up years ago to focus on really doing what I love. The great news is, since you can buy these trades on your own, you get to keep 100% of all the profits you make. Of course, we don't just hand you these picks and send you on your way. We also send out weekly updates to alert you of any big moves inside the portfolio, as well as any news affecting our open positions. We keep track of everything the way a real money manager would. And whenever an urgent action is needed, we'll send you trade alerts with precise buy and sell instructions. We'll publish these alerts on our Altucher's Investment Network's website. We'll also alert you via email. And if you want, we'll send you a text. We do our best to arm you with as much elite intel as possible. That's why you'll also get access to Altucher's Investment Network's library of special reports. We recently stacked the archives with several approaches you can take to capitalize on the ongoing boom in AI. This is a huge opportunity with enormous upside in my view. Listen, I've been working on AI-related projects since 1987. I majored in computer science. I went to graduate school for computer science, all to study AI. So I was doing this long before people even knew AI existed. I was recruited by IBM to work on their Deep Blue project before it beat global world champion, chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. When I managed money, I created AI-based algorithms to spot emerging stock market patterns in real time and exploit them before the rest of the market. It was all because I had this background and experience in software and AI. And right now, I can tell you what we're witnessing in AI in the markets. We're witnessing just the early stages of seeing what AI can really do. It is going to transform society much more than people believe. As much this is going to be like the discovery of fire or the creation of the wheel, and certainly like the creation of it'll be bigger than the creation of the printing press. And it sounds like extravagant, but I know what AI can do. I know what the potential is. I've seen the innovation happening in AI for almost 40 years. It will launch a new era of human productivity, and it will generate fortunes for the right companies who know how to use it. So I've put together several reports, yours free, to help you capitalize on this revolution when you accept your risk-free trial subscription to Altucher's Investment Network today. So they include the $1 million AI portfolio, the top buy and hold AI stocks to turn $10,000 into $1 million. Inside this report, you're going to discover the names and tickers of the companies that are dominating their respective spaces in the AI arena. Everything from software to hardware to manufacturing and services. This report will tell you the best stocks to buy and hold for the next decade. The $144 AI jackpot, the top 3 speculations for the AI boom. I have found 3 lesser known companies that are at the cutting edge of new AI applications, and they're currently overlooked by investors. These could be massive, massive winners in the years ahead. Another report, 5 secret AI income generators. Whether you want to grow a business or generate passive income in retirement, this report tells you exactly how to make money with AI right from your home computer or even your smartphone. And there's so much more. And look, as you can see, I'm doing everything I can to stack the deck in your favor so you can hopefully profit from the biggest investment opportunities appearing on the horizon. Your timing, though, couldn't be better because we have a very brief window of time before I believe this wealth pattern sends many smaller cryptocurrencies to dramatic new heights. And I believe every opportunity outlined in my Better Than Bitcoin report will perform much better than Bitcoin during this cycle. I say this as someone who has personally made gains of several thousand% on my own cryptocurrency investments. And I've also showed many individual investors like you how to make thousands of percent on theirs. So you can ignore this prediction if you'd like, and that's fine. Just know I have a long history of making bold predictions like this that have come true. For example, in 2007, I got laughed off the set on CNBC for saying Facebook would be worth north of $100 billion one day. Around that same time, I invested in a company called Buddy Media that helped companies grow their brand awareness on Facebook. It turned out to be a huge success. In 2012, Salesforce bought Buddy Media for $689 million. And that same year, Facebook went public. Its value, $104 billion. It was the largest tech IPO ever. To their credit, CNBC had me back on then and admitted that 5 years earlier, I'd said it would be worth over $100 billion. That same year also, I predicted Apple would become the first trillion-dollar company in history. CNBC took my prediction seriously this time, ran an article on it. At the time, Apple was worth about $300 billion, but the idea of $1 trillion business was crazy. But a few years later, it became the first company in history to achieve that feat. And today it's worth almost $3 trillion. It's up almost 1,000% since I first told people to buy it. Then, 2011, I predicted the Dow would eclipse 20,000 and that the S&P 500 would hit new all-time highs before the bull market was over. At the time, the Dow was still trading more than 1,000 points below its highs from 2007, and most investors weren't feeling that bullish. Of course, we all know what happened. The Dow soared past 20,000. Guess what? It then soared past 30,000, and the S&P has more than tripled its old highs. My point is, I know it can be easy to ignore sensational claims that you hear online, but I'm not sure I've ever seen a bigger, more obvious investment opportunity in my life. Bitcoin has always seen a massive bull market every 4 years whenever this wealth pattern appears, from its 8,361% gain in 2013 or its 1,000% plus returns in the last two bull markets. And now the biggest money movers in the world are finally getting on board. This means this is your last chance to get in before the big money. Big money was never, and by big money, I mean all the institutions, funds, governments, and so on. They never were able to get into the markets before, but now because of the ETFs and other things, they're coming into these markets. So once they do, your chance at the best gains will be gone. I doubt you will ever have another chance to get into Bitcoin as cheap as it is today. As the world's biggest investors in the world come in, Bitcoin will become a mainstream asset for the first time in its history. That's what's different now. And as you've seen, it won't take much to send Bitcoin to $150,000 or more. And while most investors will be perfectly fine buying Bitcoin for the first time, you won't, because now you've seen the truth. Whenever this wealth pattern appears, other smaller cryptocurrencies can rise 5x, 10x, even 100 times faster than Bitcoin alone. If you want a shot at these kinds of returns in what I believe will be the last major bull market in crypto, then let me help. Subscribe to a risk-free trial of the Altucher Investment Network today, and I'll send you a copy of Better Than Bitcoin, the top 10 cryptos to buy for explosive gains the moment you join, as well as the 3 AI special reports I just mentioned. So, what does all of this cost? Not nearly as much as you might think. According to Bloomberg, some investment banks charge up to $1 million for their research per client. The wealthy investors are more than happy to pay that in order to stay ahead. But look, I stopped running hedge funds and VC funds. I never really liked working for 15 rich people and trying to make their already gotten wealth even wealthier. I know what it's like to have an 8-figure net worth. And I also know what it's like to have just $143 in my bank account. I've known what it's like to live in a multi-million-dollar house. And I also know what it's like to live with nothing and live in and out of different Airbnbs. I've experienced the highs and the lows of investing, and I know how difficult it is for the average person to get ahead. So that's the beauty of Altucher's investment network. With tens of thousands of subscribers all over the globe, I don't have to charge an arm and a leg. The published price for a 1-year subscription is just $299. That's less than $6 per week. But I don't even want you to pay anywhere near that price today. When you join, you'll get all the benefits I've laid out for you today. Your special report, Better Than Bitcoin, the top 10 cryptos to buy for explosive gains, your monthly newsletter containing my team and I's best ideas every month, weekly updates and trade alerts, a model portfolio of actionable stock and crypto recommendations, your library of special reports, and more. The best part, it is written in plain English. I'd love to share a note that I received from one of the most renowned investors in the world. John Malden is a New York Times bestselling author and the founder of Malden Economics. About my work, John has said, Altucher describes in easy to understand terms the strategies used by the smartest managers in the world, those who are running the hottest hedge funds, to show how they are making money today, and it helps that he writes in a clear and fun style. Stephen Dubner, one of the authors of Freakonomics, another financial bestseller, says James Altucher is scary smart and also a font of great and original ideas. His work is so much fun to read and so devilishly informative, a true keeper. Perhaps some of the kindest praise I ever received was one from one of my dearest friends and colleagues, Jim Cramer. He said, I listen to James because I know he has the public's interest at heart. And I try to live up to those words every day. Can't promise I'll always be right, but I can promise I'll always give you my best ideas. I'm one of those people who has gone from having no money to lots of money a couple of different times in my life. I've sold multiple businesses for millions of dollars, and I've made a ton of money in crypto. And I believe this is your last chance to do so as well before it becomes mainstream. A phenomenal opportunity awaits you. So to join Altucher's investment network, click on the button below. To make this an absolute no-brainer for you, I'm going to do something a bit radical. So I don't want you to pay the full price. I'm going to send you my best price as soon as you click the button. Rather than pay $299 for a 1-year subscription, you're just going to pay $49. That is less than $1 per week, and it includes everything I've mentioned above. And because I am so certain that joining Altucher's investment network will be the best decision you've ever made, I'm also making your purchase 100% risk-free for the next 60 days. Take the next 2 months to look over everything. Your Better Than Bitcoin special report, all the AI and monthly reports, and if you decide that it just isn't worth it for whatever reason, I'll issue a full refund. You can even keep everything I sent you. That's how confident I am that you'll love Altucher's investment network. I don't know of anyone else that would or even could make this bold of a guarantee, but I'm doing right now because I want to remove any doubt from your mind that this is the best financial decision you can make right now. You're going to love it here. It's one of the best communities on earth. It's why I love doing this, is building a community of like-minded people who are interested in freedom and purchasing security for their family for generations. This means everything to me. You'll have fun, you'll learn a lot, and hopefully you'll make lots of money. It doesn't matter if you've never bought Bitcoin before in your life. It doesn't matter if you've never invested in anything before personally. Anyone could take advantage of this incredible wealth building moment. But if you're still confused by some of these terms like DeFi and Web3 and all this other jargon, or if you're still not really sure what a blockchain is, then there's one final bonus that I want to send you completely free. I'm very proud of this book, The Big Book of Crypto. It spells all this stuff out in plain English. And I really hate when people like overuse jargon. They want to sound like real tech or real cool or whatever. This spells everything about crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain. It spells it all out in plain English. Most of the chapters are just a few pages long. It's easy to read and also provides plenty of useful tips, including, here's some of the things about this book. So it includes my big predictions for crypto, including another event that could quickly add $50,000 to Bitcoin's price, and that's on page 21. And I have a chapter on the next $1 trillion coin. So Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency to hit $1 trillion market cap, joining the ranks of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and a few other investments. But I'm predicting another coin will join the ranks in this next cycle. That's on page 53. I talk about also your number one destination for crypto income so that's on page 122. And I reveal the name of an important website that you want to know that lists where you can find the best crypto rewards that pay up to 20% per year. Another thing I write about is the one tool to weed out. Remember I mentioned that 95% of these smaller cryptocurrencies are just complete garbage? Well, I talk about how to weed out those 95% of coins that are just complete trash. So on page 142, again, I reveal another easy-to-use website that reveals the realistic potential upside on thousands of different cryptos. Another chapter, 3 crypto miners that can get you 1,000% gains by 2025. So this is a great way to take advantage of Bitcoin's price rise inside a traditional brokerage account other than investing in the Bitcoin ETF. These crypto miners are publicly traded and all skyrocketed in the last bull market. And again, they appear to be setting up for another major run. Just remember, this is most likely the final major bull market we'll ever see in Bitcoin and all the underlying cryptos. Now that Bitcoin is officially a mainstream asset with the world's largest investors finally able to buy in, we will likely never see an opportunity like this again. Click the Join Now button to get started. My hope is that in 1 or 2 years, you'll write me saying that this message today marked a huge turning point in your life. And once you're on the inside, you'll get everything we've talked about here today, including 1 full year of Altucher's Investment Network for 75% off, your 12 monthly issues, 52 weekly updates, trade alerts on any new or open positions, model portfolio access, private members-only web access to the network website, customer support available 5 days a week by phone, chat, or email, and the library of special reports, including Better Than Bitcoin, the top 10 cryptos to buy for explosive gains, the Big Book of Crypto, the $1 Million AI Portfolio, the top buy and hold AI stocks to turn $10,000 into $1 million, the $144 AI Jackpot, the top 3 speculations for the AI boom, 5 secret AI income generators, and so much more. Just remember, this is a very time-specific moment, which is why it was so urgent for me to send this video out to you. Time is ticking. Your chance to get in on this epic bull market is coming to an end. Make the smart choice. Join me and my community of readers right now. I'm James Altucher. I really appreciate and thank you for spending time with me today, and I look forward to welcoming you as the newest member of Altucher's Investment Network. See you inside.